Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Here we go. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. How you doing today?
Great. How are you?
Good. We're at the spot. We're at the place where the conversation starts. Got marbles in my mouth. Where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Today we're talking to Katherine Alberts. Well, you know what? She's been on a journey. Yes, she has. And we're going to talk about that journey of self-discovery, self-love, self-determination, because those are big $25 words, but what do they mean? And they're very individualized. They have to be custom to each person. Everybody doesn't eat from the same thing at the smorgasbord, okay? And life is a smorgasbord. So we're going to talk about her challenges that she had to overcome as a divorcee, and she's working with individuals that have experienced that. She's a mother of two, and Brain, she's going to nursing school. So we are sending her love, light, and encouragement because we know that she's going to do good. Okay, I got high expectations for her. I remember the first time I talked to her, she told me that she missed out the first time. And you know what she actually said, Brain? She said that she failed. And I told her, fail is not in our vocabulary. You just missed out. It just wasn't your time. And now look, last quarter she got all A's and she got a test on Monday. She's gonna do good. Yeah, I told you business because I want everybody to lift you up. I do, and I know that you're gonna do a fantastic job bedside, taking care of people. So tell my
Thank you.
brains what I haven't told them about you and how you show up in the world.
Uh, One foot in front of the other, one step at a time, making sure that I trust myself, love myself, which doesn't always come easy, but like I said, it's a journey. Um, I kind of follow the one push-up rule. Have you heard of that?
No.
The one push-up rule is you aim for one push-up or one self-care, self-love thing per day. And if you don't accomplish that, then you give yourself grace and you move forward. And if you accomplish that, then you can move forward or you find another thing to keep going. So if I can do 2 push-ups, if I can do 3 push-ups, if I can go 10 push-ups, then that's pat on my back. So I take that as a self-care journey where if I can get in the shower, perfect. If I can go for a walk, even better. And I just keep going on the self-love, self-care because at the end of the day, we are living with ourselves 24 hours a day.
Well, you know, what I hear you saying there is that number one, you're rewarding yourself for your effort. You know,
Yes.
my daughter had a reading challenge. I had put her in the best private school. Girl, child couldn't read. I asked the school, I said, well, how do you compare to the public sector? We do pretty good. Pretty
Mhm.
good. I ain't paying you for pretty good. I'm paying you for excellence. So I put her in a program, Silver Learning Center. That cotton picking thing was $52 an hour.
Mm.
But in 6 months, the child was reading at her grade level. She was happy. And the biggest thing that they told me is to reward her for her effort.
Mhm.
Reward for effort just for trying. If she was getting an F and she got a C, oh, we had ice cream, we had a Barbie party. It was on and popping because I reward her. And to this day, you know, I tell her, I said, I reward you for trying.
Mhm.
Nothing surpasses a failure but a try. And the other thing I hear you say is gratitude.
Mhm.
That you're grateful.
Mhm.
You know? And you got to be grateful. I have a book that I wrote down all the things I was grateful for, and I'm
Mhm.
continuing to write. I uncovered it like 3 or 4 pages front and back. You know, and just it's the little things. It's the
Mhm.
little things. You know, that I got all my teeth, that I can see, that I can talk to Catherine, that I can even talk.
Hmm.
because there's going to be a lot of people that you're going to be helping bedside that won't be able to speak for themselves.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
when you are grateful, you can't be anxious or angry or mad or sad because it fills your heart full of
Yeah.
love.
But then sometimes I got a different thought, a different point of reference on that. Sometimes you got to be grateful for the adversarial things that happen to you as well, because the
True.
things that hurt us, Catherine, in our life are truly our best teachers.
Hmm.
They set your boundaries. They set your trajectory. It's that fear. It's that warning. I'm not going
Hmm.
to do that again. So you learned all that in a trying time in your life when you consciously uncoupled. I just don't like the word divorce. It's just so final. Uh,
Negative.
but you have two boys, right?
I do. I have two teenagers.
Now, how long have you been uncoupled?
It'll be 5 years this year.
Are you still emotionally tender? Tell truth.
It's very light. Um,
Complicated.
well,
Yeah.
we were together for 20 years.
Oh, that's a long
So
time.
it took me a long time to come to the conclusion of being uncoupled, and it's taken me quite a while to come back to the circle of really loving myself and trusting that I'm on the right journey.
We're not going too much into your business. I already did that. But in that situation, you lose yourself.
Hmm.
20 years is a long time to be with somebody.
Yeah.
Long time to be with somebody. And you become very dependent upon them, or
Yes.
like I said, I don't know the situation.
Everything.
You
Dependent
become
on everything.
manipulated by them, complicated by them, and you just don't feel that you're able to do it on your own.
Hmm.
You woke up and you kind of thought that this was something that you wanted to do, but then you stepped into that element of fear,
Hmm.
and you guys decided to do what it is you did for the betterment of both,
Hmm.
for you and for him. And
Hmm.
it was complicated on the boys, but how did you feel? Did you feel like you had just walked through the valley of the shadow of death and feared no evil?
Worse than that.
Ah.
Um, because it was the first time that I'd ever lived on my own after I
Hmm.
coupled. And so I was dealing with multiple things, not only being uncoupled, but not living with my children 24 hours a day, living by myself for the first time in my adult life. Um, so there's all this pressure of things that I shouldn't do, but where to go, where to turn, except for inward to myself. And trust in faith of there's only up, because once you reach that point of low, you have to take one step at a time and give it all over to your faith of things will be fine. But there is moments when it doesn't feel like that.
It's still moments of uncertainty.
Yeah.
I've been married to Mr. Magnificent for 41 years. Girl, I adore
Whew.
that dude. And I thought about it, and we thought about it. We had a conversation the other day that what would we do if we broke up or if
Mhm.
one of us passed away or whatever. He said the first thing he wouldn't do is get another wife. And he said, no, I'd have a girlfriend, she could come over here and kick it. He said, but there would be no toothbrushes, there would be no lingerie. He says, and she would have to leave her phone in the living room. He says, because if I take her out and she's on the phone doing Facebook or whatever, social media, and I'm trying to entertain her or something, he said, no, it's not happening. So
Hmm.
it's a difference now in the dating world. So now you're moving fast forward.
Yep.
Do you think about love again? Do you think about getting in a relationship? I know 5 years is still relatively new, but still you're very vivacious and gorgeous. I don't see
Thank you.
you're studying school. You don't need to be distracted. But I'm just saying, a male suitor. What are you
I
looking
have
for?
thought about it, but it's kind of like you said, I don't see myself getting married again. I would like the companionship of having another person, but I'm not sure now that I've really become concrete solid in my everyday life of living on my own. I don't know if I'd want to live with someone, but I'm open to options of, I don't know about marriage or not, but the possibility of living with someone again.
Have you been on an online dating site?
Yes, I have actually.
See, ain't nothing wrong with
Um,
it, girl. You got to get your swagger back.
I'm working on it. It's all about loving myself first, and getting to that place where um, I'm in school and being with my children. But I have been on Facebook dating. I have been on Tinder, eHarmony, a couple of the others. I
You
just,
know, it's all right to put your pole in the water. You don't have
yeah,
to,
yeah.
just as long as you don't pull up a squid. But
Yeah,
there might,
I only do it for a couple, maybe couple months, and then it's not what I think it's gonna be, so I leave
and
them.
it's not for everybody. But
Hmm.
again, what the reason why I bring this up is because bringing your sexy back
Hmm.
after you've been divorced, that's self-love too.
Yeah.
Looking yourself in the mirror and blowing yourself a kiss and say, you know what, I deserve to go out on a date. I deserve for
Hmm.
somebody to put their arm around me. I deserve for somebody to tell me that I'm pretty,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and to have a companion to go to the movies with. But it's difficult because you
Hmm.
have two young men.
Hmm.
You just can't just bring any old sloppy second in the house in front of them.
Yes.
Number one, they're not going to put up with it because it's their that's going to be a challenge. But
Yeah.
they have to understand that life goes on,
Hmm.
and that you deserve to have those feelings when you are ready.
Hmm.
I just had another guest on my show, girl. She has a high profile escort service in
Oh.
Australia. I looked at her website. I'm telling you, her stable is all right now. But when I asked her, I said, well, well, prostitution is legal in Australia, and it's not necessarily that you want to have intimacy.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just want companionship.
True.
What do you say to the woman that's newly divorced, separated, and seeking out self love, but wanting to also feel sexy and vivacious? What do you say to her?
Dress up and take yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is nothing like going dressing up, and I mean you could dress up as little or as much as you want, but that self-love spot where you put some earrings on, some makeup on, maybe a dress, and maybe you go dancing. I did go to a couple dance classes. That was fun just to get out and about. I have taken myself out to dinner a couple of times, and you just walk up and get a table or sit at the bar, it doesn't matter. But you kind of have that self-confidence of like, oh, I'm like taking myself out because I love myself.
That's
I
right.
want to look beautiful in this moment for myself, not necessarily for anybody else.
Absolutely. Then you have to think about another thing, regrouping yourself financially, because in a divorce, nobody wins.
Right.
Nobody wins.
Hmm.
They think they get a big settlement. Yeah, well, you got two kids and you're a single parent,
Yeah.
and it only lasts for so long.
Hmm.
So, what do you say to the woman that's trying to pick herself up from her bootstraps?
Um, budget, and you can do it. Um, it's very hard in the moment. I went out and got a first job that I thought I could get. It wasn't the highest paying one, but it was one that I could love myself for and respect myself for and start getting that confidence back. And then I decided I wanted to go on to school. So I'm taking out loans and stuff to go back to school because I feel like that's important to me. But I would say one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times, not as much now, but in the beginning when I would ask myself every moment, what do I need in this moment? Do I need to look for a job? Do I need to work on my budget? Do I need to take a bath? Do I need to go for a walk? What are the things that I need to take care of myself in this moment? Because when you first are on your own, there's Every moment could be different.
It can, and you got the naysayers. You got the girlfriend, girl. I would have been done left a long time ago. Sitting there, sitting there looking like lunch meat, a big old piece of bologna. Just as
Yeah.
phony as she can be. She was never a friend. She was a friend of me.
Hmm.
Or you've got the mother or the mother-in-law or the cousin, and you still got to deal with the ex person because you got two little people.
Hmm.
Consciously uncoupling is not easy when you're co-parenting. Give us some
No,
suggestions on, how to learn to be civil because every situation is different. Some you can't even deal with that other person at all, be it male or female, because there's some wicked females out there too now.
totally.
But what do you say to that person?
I would say first take a deep breath, and then next, um, use the let them theory. And I know that is a big thing, and I haven't read the book. Uh, but one thing before the book came out was me acknowledging that I need to let them be who they were without me pushing or pulling one direction or the other, and then work on my boundaries.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
and those things usually work hand in hand with letting the other person be who they actually are and also working on your boundaries. Those two things I would say is good for being a parent, but also when you are uncoupling from someone, you have to make sure that you state exactly what you want, when you want, how you want, where you want.
Yeah.
And then make sure that you're not trying to control the other person because I think that's where a lot of the arguments start is because one person cannot compromise for the other person because they're no longer together.
Well, and they don't want to.
Hmm.
It's the control. They want to control the
Hmm.
money. They want to control your libido.
Yep.
They want to control, who you have around your children. Now, I get that. I wouldn't want just any old body around my child,
No.
but there's got to be some leadway there because when you do find somebody that you like, oh, honey, you come back on the show. You're a fine kettle of fish, you know? And people don't realize what did mama always say? You don't miss your water till your well run dry. And
That's
and
true.
it's okay,
Hmm.
and vice
Hmm.
versa. He may get somebody in his life and you might be all crunchy, but
I don't know.
yeah, but however it goes, you still have to mentor these two young men.
Hmm.
So let's talk about what are you pouring into them because you want them to be compassionate, you
Hmm.
want them to be loving, you want them to not harbor animosity against, you them or your dad for not being together. You want
Right.
them to appreciate the fact that you made a choice that this wasn't a situation you wanted to be in anymore and it was better for all of us that way.
Hmm.
But they are very impressionable teenagers now.
Yes.
They're falling in love with, robotics and video games and 30-second sound bites. How are you keeping them on the straight and narrow?
We spend time together. So in the beginning, I made sure to voice my opinion about not, maybe I should backtrack just a little bit. Maybe not opinion, but the actual details of what is happening and not go into the whys necessarily, but this is what is happening. And then also make sure I talk with them individually. How are you feeling? What are your emotions? And then also they both do have cell phones because I want to make sure that I can contact them. I call them every day when they are at their father's house to make sure that they're doing well and to keep that contact. And then I also make sure to go to baseball, basketball, track meets so that I'm there with them. And then we have separate times that we go and do things. My oldest is teaching me how to play chess right now, and then we have four-wheelers, so me and my youngest go, just the two of us, and go out in the trees and go four-wheeling. And then we make other times where it's just the three of us and we go on little trips, camping trips. And it's no cell phones allowed during those times. So, yes, they do get on, so not social media, but they do watch YouTube. And then, but I also touch base with them, making sure that they're, doing their studies. And we have this thing where they read an extra 30 minutes a day. So, they do that on top of their studies, and then they're in sports all the time. So it's a constant communication of
Perfect. Per- It's a good one. You're
here.
showing up for them. You're showing
Yeah,
up for them.
yeah. So
And you
I
said,
tell them when I have to be in school, and they tell me when they're going to be doing their sports activities.
well, you said two things that I wrote down that are very, that I found was amazing. The details. Brains, let me tell you something. They say, well, we don't want the kids to know. The kids lived in the house.
Hmm.
They were in the house when daddy wasn't there. They was in the house when mama wasn't there. They know
Hmm.
probably more about it than the both of you. They know, but you don't need to give them the nano details of what's
Hmm.
going on. It's a big picture.
Hmm.
They can color in the white space. And
Yep.
believe me, they know. They
Hmm.
don't. They know. And treating them as individuals. A
Hmm.
lot of times, you got kids, you got two, three of them. I was talking to my I call them my grand buddies. Um, I was talking to their mother today, and she's got three of them, and
Hmm.
she takes time with each individual because they're not a collective.
Right.
They've got their own issues, their own personalities, their own feelings, and sometimes people want to gather them and bring them in like cattle, and that's
Hmm.
not it. So to treat
Hmm.
them, bravo, I give you your flowers for letting them and allowing them to be individuals and to come to you and unpack what it is with them,
Thank you.
because they
Hmm.
have a conversation between the two brothers
Hmm.
that their parents aren't aware of,
Hmm.
but it's important to have someone to come to.
Hmm.
Still talking to my grand buddy's mother, and her niece is now transferring into a boy, is a transgender.
Hmm.
Mother has big issues with that, but the aunt stepped in because the niece moved out, just spontaneous. I can't take it anymore. I'm 18. I'm leaving.
Hmm.
And so she said, "Well, nobody's speaking." I said, "Well, I can't tell people how to parent, but at least the child did go to another family member and did not go
Hmm.
to an outside influence, drugs, alcohol, gangs, you know, the
Right.
community, you know, the,
Hmm.
the community there is not always welcoming and loving to these situations. So when your kids come to you and they speak to you, that speaks volumes because they
Hmm.
trust you. Because
Hmm.
once they hit that door, Catherine, like I know, they belong to the world.
Yep.
And it's very, very difficult. Well, you have been so open and vulnerable and raw, and I appreciate that. Tell people about your coaching program, what you're pouring into others.
I'm a health and life coach certified through Health Coach Institute, where I'm helping divorced mothers prioritize their self-care, heal from burnout, and live on their own. We don't, as mothers, we know about self-care, but we don't always practice our self-care on ourselves. And so I want to help advocate for divorced mothers and really tell them that um, you can't find what you're looking for in outside influence. It's really turning it in on yourself and how, like I said earlier, about what do you need in this moment? How can I act? How do I need to be type thing? And then healing from burnout, that is one thing I came up with for me because um, after not getting along for a certain amount of time, I feel like I was burned out and I couldn't accept silence. When I was living on my own without my children, I felt like I always had to have something going on, music, my phone, some kind of chaos type thing. And it took me an extra moment to heal from that burnout. And um, I know that not everybody's in the same boat, but I feel like there's a certain amount of healing that we need to accomplish after we uncouple. And then living on their own for the first time, like I said, we don't always know where to go because there is should and shouldn'ts of things that society, parents, people around us tell us we should and shouldn't be doing. And it's in those moments when you decide, do I want to do the dishes at 1 in the morning? Do I want to go to the gym at 3 in the morning? Do I want to be dressed today? Do I and it's not everybody's schedule that we live by. It's our own schedule. And being newly divorced, it's something that you have to figure out because it changes, I feel like, dramatically from going from what we were to what we're going to be.
Right. And again, it's ever evolving.
Yep.
It's the pendulum. It's just swinging back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yep.
And you don't know where you're going to land.
No.
But it's okay, brains, because sometimes it can go around and around and around. It happens. But
Mm-hmm.
allow it to happen. Give yourself some grace. My
Right.
goodness. Really, just accept it. Okay, today is not a good day. And no, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to take a shower. I might not take a shower for 3 days.
Totally.
Get up and make these. I'm gonna get up and make these kids something to eat, or I might make them go in there and make me something to eat,
Right.
and learn how to delegate.
Mm-hmm.
People don't delegate. You got two fine young men in there. If they don't know how to do laundry by now, make a sandwich, then shame on you, Catherine. Okay, because you
Yes.
can't coddle them. They need
No,
to be independent contributors to society.
definitely.
16, 17, you got to get your hustle on. You got to get a job. You can't.
Yes.
You cannot be distracted and keep your studies up.
Right.
They can do all of that. Trust me, they can.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you're doing a great job. And I
Thank
don't know
you.
the father, but he's doing a great job too because again, you didn't tell me that they're in no trouble or anything like that. So there's some benefit there. I don't know what that looks like, but
Well, there's no trouble there, and in fact, there are times when I do ask him to talk to his sons about certain things because they need also their father, a man's perspective, point of view, to say, okay, this is how some things will go, and I can explain it as well as maybe their father can. So
like a
we still
football
talk.
play. No, I
So
get. No, I get it.
there's still things we discuss amongst ourselves, and so like I said, it's a learning process, it's a learning curve,
Sure.
but
And they're not
it's,
grown at 18. I got one that's 37. And she's still going through it and calling me and her dad for advice. But that
Mhm.
is again, like I said, that's a blessing when they come to you,
Right.
and then you
Hmm.
say, hey, let's work this out together. You may not like what they're going to say. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to like what they're going to say.
Yep.
But, get that, take a deep breath, get that shock look off your face,
Hmm.
absorb it, and be a good listener. We always want to
Right.
talk. Kids
Yep.
will tell you everything you need to know. And they
Hmm.
like discipline, they like direction if it
Hmm.
is facilitated and orchestrated in a cohesive way,
Right.
you know. So that's good. So let's ask you some fun questions. How about
Sure.
that?
Sure. Sure.
If you were a car, Catherine, what kind of car would you be and why?
Car. Well, I really like those older Camaros with the T-tops.
Oh, shoot. Not a sunroof, brains, a T-top. Y'all don't know
And
what T-tops are.
not automatic. It's gotta be manual.
Oh, shoot.
Five speed black.
Mm, slick. You have some big,
Of
you have some big tires and some rims on it too.
course.
Ooh, what kind of music would you play in it?
Ooh, I like lots of different kinds of music. I listen to Bach when I'm studying, and then when I have the windows open, I like Rolling Stones or
Guns N' Roses.
Disturbed or Guns N' Roses or Five Finger Death Punch, Avenged
Oh,
Sevenfold.
shoot.
I like all kinds of music.
I like how you said Bach when you're studying. Brains, classical music, you may not think you like it, but we made love to it one time. And I tell you, it was very different.
Hmm.
Usually we want the R&B, a little jazz, and all in the background, the ambiance. But you put on some classic music. Put it this way, you will hit new high notes. If you were a tool in a toolbox, what tool would you be?
A hammer.
A hammer. If I were a hammer. Uh, why a hammer?
Because a hammer can build and destroy.
Mm, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd be a power drill.
Mm.
I want to bolt it down. Yeah, really. Yeah. I don't
Sounds
want.
a little dirty to me.
Yeah. Well, I told you now. I done told you now. Um, if you were a flower in the garden, what flower would you be?
Mm. That's a hard one. Um, Especially since it's spring right now. One of my favorite flowers is the sunflower
Hmm.
because it can grow tall and it's beautiful, and you can eat the seeds, and the birds can eat the seeds, and they look so pretty in a big, huge field full of them with the sun over the top. Have you ever seen that before, April?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful.
Mm,
And it's nourishing and it replenishes. And I can see that that's you. If
hmm
you were an appliance in the kitchen, what
mm,
appliance would you be?
an appliance. Well, I really like blenders.
Okay.
Just because you can make different kinds of things. You can make I have this chia pudding that I make in the morning for breakfast. And then you can make milkshakes or dips or anything you can make with it.
You can mix it up. I want to be the refrigerator. I just want
Why's
to chill.
that?
I just want to chill.
Oh,
And then if it ain't right, I can put you in the freezer. If I need to preserve you for later, I can put you in the freezer. Yeah, I want to be the refrigerator. What planet do you say that you align most with out of the ones that we currently know in the solar
hmm.
system?
Not sure on that one. I know that I like to look at Jupiter because of all the moons
Mm,
that she has.
yeah.
Um,
I'm straight up Saturn. I like all the rings and the energy. If you could time
yeah.
travel, go back to the past, project to the future, stay right here in the present, where would you land?
Um, if you would ask me that a while ago, I would say the past, but more and more it's the present because I've learned that every moment can be different and is different most of the time. And it's in the present that we can be with ourselves, be with that person that we're with, whether it's a significant other, child, grandparent, because that once that moment's gone, it's gone forever.
It is gone forever, but thank goodness for memories.
Definitely.
Thank goodness for memories. Um, it I think back on my life, you know, soon to be 63 years. Who does
Mm.
that? But I have more behind me than I do in front of me.
hmm
And I just, again, like you say, I stay in the present. Me, though, I'm a little futuristic. I'm straight going
Mm.
to 3,000. I want to see what kind of, I want to see if they wearing glasses, they rocking afros. I want to know if they driving Camaros. They still using hammers. Is it sunflowers? I want to know what's going on in 3,000. Thank you so much, Katherine Alberts, for being here with me,
Thank you.
sharing your story, your love, your journey, and your truth. Um, please tell my brains how to get in contact with you. I'd love for them to, brains, just reach out to her and have a consultation. I bring you the best and brightest around the world. Reach out to these individuals. They have walked the walk and talked the talk, and they're there with their extending their hand, wanting to share with you, wanting to get to know you. How could you not take advantage of something that's free? I don't understand it. Now, again, I want you to work with Catherine. If you find it valuable, you pour into her. Money is energy. So don't come
hmm
with me as I can't do this, I can't do that. Well, she'll make it affordable. She's a student. She's not
hmm
only giving this, she's giving of two children, and she's giving of her time and her education to be bedside to somebody that is sick.
hmm
Okay? And she wants to coach.
hmm
I say she's doing a whole lot. She got a full plate. But again, we want somebody with a full container because they have overflow, and that overflow is going to pour into us. And
Hmm.
tell them how to get in contact with you, Catherine.
You can find me on Facebook, Katherine Alberts. I'm also on Instagram, Alberts Catherine. On YouTube, Love Yourself, Trust Yourself. That's my channel on YouTube. LinkedIn, Katherine Alberts, and Snapchat. But I'm also on Telegram, Slack.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
You done told me a couple places that I need to check out that I'm not on. But again, she has a great social media platform. We want to raise the numbers. We want to send her love and light and up the frequency. There are a lot of you that are listening to this right now that are in the middle of a kerfuffle. You are in the middle of even considering consciously uncoupling.
Hmm.
Why don't you talk to somebody before that? You might be able to save your marriage, or you
True.
might be able to save yourself, or you might be able to find some grace and decency and self love in the process while you're going through it.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of options and choices. Thank you so much again for being here. Uh, I'm gonna be checking on you like the school counselor. I'm
I would love
gonna be
that.
watching those grades, and because I know that you're gonna be great. Brains, I need you to go in and do your due diligence. Now you see where I'm located right here. I'm on Spreaker now. No more blog talk. They went away, poor things. But I'm on YouTube and I'm on Instagram and I am LinkedIn. Just Google my name. I'm all over the planet, but I'm there because I want you to have a soft landing, wherever that is, Jupiter, Saturn, in the refrigerator, or in the blender. Wherever you land, baby, we're going to be there for you to mix it up. Thank you so much
Definitely.
again, Catherine.
Thank you.
Sending you love and light, my sister.
Thank you. Love and light right back to you.
All right. Bye, brains.